بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. In the name of Allah, the compassionate, the merciful, all praise due to Allah. May Allah's peace and blessing be upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and those who follow the guidance until the day of judgment. Allahumma ameen. May Allah increase our knowledge and benefit us from what we learn and be with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam the day of judgment in the Jannah. Grant us, Allah. So we are still in the genealogy or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is from the descendant of Ismail. So he was raised by Jurhum. Jurhum is a tribe from Yemen, so they moved to Mecca, and he married one of them. So then he became Arabized Arab. So from his lineage, from the Ismailis lineage, 7th generation, so Adnan came. Adnan, some say 7, some say more than 7, but from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Ismail, we can count like 20 generation, 2000. Okay, to Adnan. So Adnan, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is from Adnan. So from Adnan to Ismail, there is another 7, or some say 14 or 20. So from Adnan to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is 20. So I don't want you to memorize 20 names of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's genealogy or all the way to 20. At least the scholars of Islam highly recommend 5 names. 5 names, if we know the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's lineage, his grandfather, Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib ibn Hashim ibn Abdi Manaf ibn Qusay. 5. So remember these 5 names. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is his own name. Ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib ibn Hashim ibn Abdi Manaf ibn Qusay. 5. If you know 5 up to 5 Qusay, that's enough for inshallah. At least every Muslim should know the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's grandfather up to 5 Qusay. Qusay ibn Kilab. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then to Adnan is like 20. So then to Fihr, which is Quraysh, is a sub-tribe. Quraysh became Quraysh after Adnan. So now the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is a hadith. He said, Inna Allah astafa, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Min waladi Ibrahim, Allah selected from the children of Ibrahim Ismail. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, from the children of Ismail, Allah chose Kinana. So Kinana is one of the names all the way to Adnan. Okay, so Kinana. Allah chose from children of Ismail Kinana. And then Wastafa min Bani Kinana. From the children of Kinana, Allah chose Quraysh. And then from Quraysh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose Bani Hashim. From Bani Hashim, Allah selected the Prophet Muhammad to be a prophet. So this. Now let's go back. So Jurhum ruled for 2,000 years, and Khuza'a came. Khuza'a took over, so they became corrupt. So Jurhum, Khuza'a is the one, last time we spoke about how the idol worship is introduced to Mecca. There was no idol in Mecca, so it's pure monotheism. They were all worshipping Allah. Amr ibn Luhay is the one who went to Middle East. He's from Khuza'a. So he introduced, he's from Khuza'a, he's a chief, he's a leader. well respected, and he brought this Hubal. And then that's how the idol worship started. Now, Khuza'a ruled about 300 years. So when they kicked Jurhum, Jurhum dumped the Zamzam, so nobody knows where the Zamzam is now. So Khuza'a has to bring water from some other sources. So Khuza'a ruled for about 300 years. So the descendants of Ismail now widely spread, the sub-tribes, some of the Quraysh tribes, especially Fihr, known as Fihr, that's when the Quraysh's name came about, were close to Mecca or in Mecca. They stayed there around. Some say around or outside Mecca or inside Mecca. So the descendants. So from the descendants of Ismail, so now Qusay ibn Kilab is the one who overthrew Khuza'a. How he did that? So Qusay he married one of Khuza'a's daughter, the head of them, the leader. So he became so close, and eventually Qusay ibn Kilab, he defeated Khuza'a and kicked them out. So he consolidated all the power. Remember when Jurhum was leading Mecca, they only have the power of leadership, and then the custodian, the Kaaba is taken care of by Ismail's descendants. But then when Khuza'a came, they consolidated all the power is in their hands. Khuza'a took care of everything. The religious part, which is taking care of the Kaaba, and the leadership, the political leadership. Now when Qusay ibn Kilab, he married one of them, and then eventually this war broke up between them, and then Qusay ibn Kilab was able to defeat Khuza'a and kick them out. So Qusay ibn Kilab is the grandfather of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Qusay ibn Kilab, he took the power, the head of Quraysh, was able to unify the Quraysh, to lead a revolt against Khuza'a, was able to drive them out completely from Mecca. So now finally the descendants of Ismail took over. So the descendants of Ismail now took over the guardianship of the Kaaba, and everything is in their hands now. But the political and religious leadership, so all in their hands now. Qusay ibn Kilab. Not only that, now he controlled al-hijaba, the custodian, the guardianship of al-Kaaba, taking care of the Kaaba, which was a very noble thing. And then as-siqaya wal-nifada, the feeding of the pilgrims, they are hosted because these pilgrims, the people around Kaaba or the Arabs come every year to do Hajj back then too. So feeding them is very honorable thing the Quraysh had back then too. Feeding the pilgrims and providing food and water for them is a big deal. You might say, what's a big deal in that? So it's honorable thing to do, respecting the guests, those who came to worship Allah, to do the Hajj. So it's a noble thing. So that's why the Quraysh is highly respected among the other Arabs. Not only that, now the other responsibility, Qusay ibn Kilab was responsible for also, he controlled An-Nadwa. He created An-Nadwa. An-Nadwa is like a parliament where the chief or the leader of every tribe come together and to make a decision about whatever is going on. Anything that concerns them, they do this. This was the Nadwa back at the time of Prophet Muhammad was still stays there. It did exist at the time of Muhammad because it started with Qusay, this Dar Nadwa where the Quraysh consulted to kill even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam Muhammad. That's how when he migrated from Mecca to Medina, that's what that Dar Nadwa they did. Are we gonna? So they made shura consultation. What do we do with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And then the final decision was whoever killed him. The final decision was they chose 12 youths from each tribe and kill him in one at the same time. So everybody hits him and then he dies. So his blood is spreading all over the tribes, 12 tribes. So Muhammad's tribe, Bani Hashim, is not going to do anything because everybody is involved. So this is how they came about. But they didn't succeed anyway. So this is Dar al-Nadwa. It did start with Qusay ibn Kilab. So Qusay is the one that he initiated this Dar al-Nadwa, the assembly of Quraysh, like a parliament. And then the other thing he initiated was Al-Lu'a. Al-Lu'a is taking the banner of the war, the decision to go to war, to enemy. So that's also something he initiated, that the banner of, in other words, he was the one who had the power to declare war against any enemy. Yes. And then Qusay ibn Kilab, while he was ruling, so when he got old, now the power, sharing the power, he distributed among his own children. Okay, so now, before we do that, the feeding the poor is it's a virtue, it's a good thing in any other society. So even those, Qusay ibn Kilab, even before him, Jurhum, even Bani Ismail's descendants, this is honorable thing. So people, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Ma'un, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, Allah says, أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين. So when some leaders, some high, some like Abu Jahl, Walid ibn al-Mughira, the leader of at the time of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they rejected Islam, Allah is condemning them. Some of them, even they don't. Have you seen the one who denies the judgment day, the day of judgment? فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمِ. That is the one who repulses the organ. He's harsh. He mistreats the orphan. They don't have even compassion, the empathy for orphan, to take care of the orphan. This is something simple in any other society. If we look around us in any society, people sympathize or treat well the orphan, at least, even if they don't believe in Allah. This is in human nature to feed the poor. It's a good thing. It's a good virtue. It's a good thing to do. There are also human organizations nowadays, wherever we go, even non-Muslims, even the atheists, I mean, they do good things like that. They help the needy, the poor, the orphans. So Allah is condemning the Mecca, those who rejected Islam, and they were harsh to the Prophet ﷺ, and they torturing the Muslims, and they were very harsh to the Muslims. Even Allah is saying here, they are not good. They don't do good, or they are harsh to the orphan. And Allah is saying, فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمِ, they repulses the orphan. they are harsh, mean to the orphan, and doesn't encourage, okay, they don't have anything to give, well, at least they encourage others to do good things, but they don't do that. Allah is condemning that. And وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. They don't even encourage others. There are people who cannot help others, okay, financially. They don't have money, but at least they encourage others. Let's do something good about these orphans. Let's take care of them. At least they encourage others to do good things. That's a good thing. So Allah is telling us, those who even go to the hellfire, قال ما سلككم في سقر. Why you guys ended up in the hellfire when they were asked in the day of judgment in the hellfire? People of the hellfire would say, قالوا لم نكن من المصلين. The first thing they say, we were not among those who pray for Allah. So we were not praying. وَلَمْ نَكُنْ نُطْعِمُ الْمِسْكِينَ. The second good thing they mentioned is we were not feeding the needy, the poor. So it's highly encouraged in Islam. And then the Prophet ﷺ saying, it's not a true believer, the one who spend the night or who go to bed with a full stomach while his neighbor is hungry. So he's not a true believer. To be a true believer is we should take care of each other. Even if your neighbor is not Muslim, it doesn't matter. One shouldn't die because of hunger. Everybody is responsible. So having said that, let's go back now. So Qusay, now, when Qusay ibn Kilab, so he distributed this power. He consolidated all the power is in his hand now. Taking care of the Kaaba and the leadership position, the Sikhaya. So he distributed among his own descendants. Now, Qusay ibn Kilab, okay, Qusay, and then we have Abd Manaf, Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib ibn Hashim ibn Abd Manaf. Abd Manaf, he didn't assume any position. But then the grandson of Qusay, Hashim. So now, when Qusay ibn Kilab, the grandson of Qusay, his name is actually Hashim. His actual name is Amr. But why they called him Hashim, we'll come to that. So Hashim is ended up inheriting from his father the provisions of Al-Hujjaj. He assumed he is the one who inherited from his grandfather Qusay to take care of the pilgrims, the food, the provision of food and drink. So he is the one responsible for any pilgrims, anybody who comes for Hajj, to take care of them in regard to their food and drinks. It's free. He was hosting them. So the Hujjaj. So now Hashim introduces something new. So during the time of Qusay, he used to provide them this food like a soup. It has meat, just a soup. Hashim introduces something new. He crushes bread into the soup. So now, which is much better than just soup. Now they fill their stomach. Now it's better than just a soup. So he crushed the bread into the soup. Now, because of that crushing, the act of crushing in Arabic, hashm is crushing. So that's why he was called Hashim. His actual name is Amr. Now the process of crushing the bread in Arabic is called Hashim. So Hashim, he introduces this, instead of just providing the soup, crushing a bread into it, is much better. So that's how he was called Hashim. So Hashim, so he married in Medina. While he was going to Sham, Middle East, Syria, he married in Medina. He stayed a couple of days, married from the people of Medina. He left his wife in Medina, so he went to do business, so to Syria or to Palestine, Middle East. While he was there, he died. Hashim died, the Prophet ﷺ, Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib ibn Hashim. So he died in Gaza, actually. We call it Gaza. So he was buried there. So Hashim died in Palestine, in Gaza. He was buried in Gaza, in Palestine. So, but his wife, he had no clue. He left. He was just married, and he left. She was pregnant. She got pregnant. She was pregnant. So she gave up birth. She gave up birth, and inshallah we'll continue next week. That is Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why he was called Abdul Muttalib? His actual name is Shayba. When he was born with gray hair. They called him Shayba. So how he ended up to be called Abdul Muttalib, inshallah we will discuss this on our next lecture. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.